The widow in the crowd. The market was loud. Voices shouted, metal clanged, and machines hissed in the heat. Aliens of all kinds moved through the wide stone road. Bright lights hung from above, but the light didn't reach the cold heart of one. Lonely woman, Vea stood still in the crowd, her long coat torn at the ends. Her eyes were tired, her hands shaking. Beside her stood two small children. One held her hand, the other held her leg, too scared to let go. Vea was a widow. Her husband died in the last war, one of many humans and aliens who never came back. Since then, no one hired her, no one trusted her. Some said she brought bad luck. Others said a mother with 2 kids was just a burden. She had asked for work again today. From the bread seller, the mechanic, the transport driver, even the trash sorter. Every one of them had said the same thing. Go away. We don't need your kind. We don't feed the weak. Vea wiped her eyes before her children saw the tears. She forced a smile and said softly, "We'll try again tomorrow." But the youngest one, Teko, looked up and whispered, "Mama, I'm so hungry." Vea bent down, kissed his forehead, and tried not to cry. Across the street, a human man leaned against a metal pole. He wore a black jacket covered in dust. His boots were heavy. His eyes, calm but sharp, watched her closely. His name was Marcus. He hadn't moved since she arrived. He didn't speak. He didn't call out. He just watched. Vea noticed him and quickly looked away. She had learned not to trust strangers, especially ones who stared. The sun began to fade and the market lights flickered on. Vea's legs gave way. She fell to her knees in the middle of the street, too weak to stand. Her kids knelt beside her. Still, the crowd passed by. One alien muttered she should disappear. Another one whispered, "Let her starve." Then Marcus moved. He crossed the road slowly, step by step. Each step echoed in Vea's ears like thunder. She looked up, confused and scared. He didn't speak. He just knelt and handed her a metal container. Inside, warm bread and a sealed pack of water. Vea hesitated. Her hands didn't move. Marcus said softly, "Feed them first." Her eyes widened. No one had told her that before, not even her own kind. She opened the container. Her children grabbed the bread, stuffing it into their tiny mouths. Crumbs fell, but they smiled for the first time all day. Vea held the water but did not drink. She looked at the man. "Why?" she asked, her voice dry. Marcus shrugged. "Because I could." He stood to leave, but Vea grabbed his arm. Her voice was shaky. "Are you going to ask something in return?" Marcus shook his head. "No." "No. Work? No. No payment? Not today." She stared at him like he was speaking a different language. "Then why?" she asked again. Marcus looked her in the eyes. "Because you still have fire in you. I see it." Vea lowered her head. "It's almost gone." "Not yet," he said. He turned to walk away. Then he stopped and looked over his shoulder. "Do you want to live?" he asked. She blinked. "Yes, but it's hard." Marcus nodded once. "Then come with me." Vea looked down at her children. Their bellies were full for now. But what about tomorrow? She looked back at the crowd. No one else even noticed her. She stood up slowly, holding both her children's hands. Her legs trembled, but she stood tall. Marcus didn't smile. He didn't need to. He just turned and began walking. Vea followed. And for the first time in many months, someone walked beside her. Bread, then a question. The road Marcus took was quiet. Fewer lights, fewer eyes. Old, broken. Buildings stood on each side. The air smelled of rust and engine oil. Vea followed behind him, holding her 2 children close. Her mind raced with worry. Was this a trap? Was he leading her to danger? But her children's bellies were full for the first time in days, and he had not asked anything from her. Not yet. Marcus walked slowly, checking now and then if she was still behind. He said nothing. not even when the smallest child coughed. They stopped at a large metal door. The building looked like an old repair shop. Paint was peeling. The door, dented. A faded sign above read M-Unit Mechanics. The place seemed forgotten. Marcus typed a code. The door buzzed open. Inside was warmer. The smell of burnt wires and fuel filled the air. Tools were scattered on the table. Machines sat in the corner, half fixed. A big old furnace glowed gently in the back, giving off heat. Marcus pointed toward a clean mat near the wall. "You can rest there," he said. Vea nodded slowly, helping her children sit. They curled into each other and lay down. Within minutes, both were asleep, their tiny bodies finally safe. Marcus disappeared into the back room. Vea sat alone, the silence loud in her ears. Her hands shook as she touched the mat. It was real. It wasn't a dream. Marcus returned with a cloth bag. He handed her another small meal, a sealed packet of dried fruit and soft bread. She stared at it. "Why are you helping me?" she asked softly. He sat on the ground across from her, leaned against the wall and folded his arms. "I saw you," he said. Vea blinked. "Many see me." "I saw you try," he corrected. "Even when they pushed you away. Even when your hands shook, you kept going." She looked down. "I have no choice." "That's not weakness," Marcus said. "That's strength." Vea slowly opened the food and took a bite. It tasted sweet, too sweet. She almost cried again, but held it in. Marcus looked at her quietly, then asked, "What's your name?" She hesitated. Most who asked her name wanted to use it later, mock it, call it in threats, or report her. But this man had fed her children. "Vea," she said at last, "and my kids, Sira and Teiko." Marcus nodded. "I'm Marcus." They sat in silence for a while. Then Marcus asked a strange question. "Do you know machines?" Vea blinked. "Yes. I used to help my husband fix transport loaders. Before he died." Marcus tilted his head. "Still remember?" "I think so," she whispered. He didn't say more. He stood and walked toward one of the broken machines in the corner. With quiet hands, he picked up a metal arm, half broken, covered in dust. He placed it near her. "Try," he said simply. Vea stared at the piece. Her fingers itched. For the first time in months, they wanted to work, not beg. She looked at the tools beside her. They were sharp and clean. Slowly, she picked up a wrench. Her hands remembered. Loosen here. Twist there. Adjust the wiring. She bit her lip, focused hard. Marcus didn't interrupt. She kept working until her fingers hurt. It wasn't perfect, but it was working. The robotic fingers twitched and moved slightly. She looked up. Marcus was watching. "You still have it?" he said simply. Vea smiled. A small one. "I didn't know I still did." Marcus nodded and picked up the arm. "Good. Then maybe you can help here." Her eyes widened. "You mean work?" "Not for free," he said. "I'll pay you. It won't be much at first, but there's always something to fix." Tears welled up in her eyes. "No one ever offered me work," she said. "I'm not no one," Marcus replied. "I'm human." Vea laughed softly through her tears. That night, as her children slept, she fixed another small piece. A motor coil. Then a circuit panel. She felt alive again. Outside, the wind howled. But inside, in the warm shop filled with tools and hope, a broken widow felt something grow inside her again. Not fear, not hunger, but possibility. Shelter of iron and fire morning came slow. The sky above the city was always gray, but inside the workshop the old furnace still burned, casting warm orange light across the walls. Vea woke first. Her children slept peacefully on the mat beside her. It had been many days since they had slept through a night without crying from hunger or cold. She sat up, feeling soreness in her back, but something else too. Calm. She looked around. The shop was filled with tools, wires, broken machines, and metal dust. Yet to her it felt like a home. Not perfect, not soft, but safe. She stood and quietly walked toward the machine she had worked on last night. The parts were still there, just where she left them. She picked up a small metal piece, turned it in her hand, and smiled faintly. It felt right. Behind her, a low voice spoke. "You're up early." She turned. Marcus stood at the back doorway, holding 2 steaming cups of something warm. He handed one to her. "It's not real coffee," he said, "but it helps." Vea took the cup. Her hands shook a little as she sipped. It was bitter, but warm. Her body welcomed it like a hug. "I didn't want to waste your time," she said softly. "So I started working." Marcus nodded. "Time spent fixing is never wasted." Vea looked down. "Thank you. For the food, the bed, everything." Marcus leaned against the table, sipping his drink. "You're not the only one who's lost something." She glanced at him. He didn't say more. His eyes stared at the broken wall like they were seeing something far away. She didn't ask questions. She knew the look, the weight of old pain. Suddenly, the furnace made a loud pop. Sparks flew, and the light dimmed. Vea rushed to it out, of habit, checking the valve, adjusting the pressure. Marcus watched her with a raised brow. "You know furnaces too?" he asked. She shrugged. "I learned what I had to, when we had nothing." Marcus smiled. "Good. That thing acts up every few days." He moved toward a half-open locker and pulled out a metal badge. It had a faded emblem, a gear with wings. "Used to be a repair station," he explained. "They shut it down after the war. I took it over." "Alone?" she asked. "Mostly." "Hired help never stayed long. Either they stole or were lazy." He paused, then added, "You're the first person I've seen who works without being told." Vea looked away, embarrassed. "I'm just afraid of losing this place." Marcus tilted his head. "You don't need to be." Just then, the shop door creaked open. Cold air rushed in. An alien male walked in. Tall, 4 arms, greenish skin, heavy armor. He looked around, then scowled at Marcus. "You still running this junkyard?" he sneered. Marcus stood tall. "Still fixing better than anyone else." The alien's eyes shifted to Vea. He snorted. "You hiring strays now?" Vea flinched, but stayed quiet. Marcus didn't. "She's worth 10 of you," he said calmly. The alien growled. "You'll regret mixing with trash. No one else will give you work." Marcus smiled coldly. "That's fine. I'd rather work with honest hands than forked tongues." The alien left with a grunt. Vea stared at Marcus, stunned. "Why did you defend me like that?" Marcus shrugged. "You earned your place here, that's enough for me." She nodded slowly, then asked, "What do you need me to do today?" He smiled and pointed to the workbench. "See that old loader circuit? It hasn't worked in a year. Think you can wake it up?" She nodded confidently. "Let me try." As she worked, her children woke. Marcus handed them small packs of food. Sierra quietly drew pictures on scrap paper, and Teko played with bolts, building tiny towers. Vea didn't notice time pass. She was too busy fixing, adjusting, connecting wires, and listening for the quiet hum of life. And when the loader's light blinked green, she gasped. "It works," she whispered. Marcus clapped once. "Told you." "Honest hands." She laughed, the sound light and full like the wind after a storm. But outside in the city, word began to spread. A human was protecting a widow, giving her tools, feeding her children, and not everyone liked that. Hands of a lost engineer. Vea sat under a hanging, light, her hands deep in a box of wires. Her fingers moved fast, twisting, connecting, testing. The air smelled of oil and hot metal. She didn't mind. It smelled like work. It smelled like purpose. The workshop buzzed with low sounds. Sparks flew from a corner where Marcus was welding something. Sierra and Teko played with old parts, making pretend robots on the floor. It felt like a strange kind of peace. But Vea's heart didn't rest. Not completely. She had seen the way some aliens looked at her outside the shop, eyes full of hate, whispers sharp like blades. Some stared as if she had stolen something. Others ignored her like she didn't exist. But inside this place, Marcus treated her like she mattered. Still, she feared it would not last. She reached for a screwdriver and winced. Her fingers had cuts from sharp wires, but she didn't stop. These were good cuts. She remembered her husband's hands, big, rough, always black with grease. He taught her to fix engines and cooling units. He used to call her his gentle engineer. He died in the war. No body, no grave, just silence. She hadn't touched tools since then, until Marcus. Now, she couldn't stop. Marcus walked over and handed her a small metal cube. "New job," he said. "It's an old gravity stabilizer, needs full rebuild." She examined it. Complex, damaged, but not impossible. "I'll do my best," she said. He nodded. "I know you will." Just then the door slammed open. 2 aliens stepped inside, city inspectors. One tall, one wide. Both wore sharp coats and sour expressions. "Inspection," the tall one said without greeting. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Since when?" "Since complaints came in," the wide one said. "Something about illegal workers." Marcus's jaw tightened. He stepped in front of Vea. "She's under my hire," he said firmly. "Paid fairly, no crime here." The inspector sneered. "No permits, no records. She's not from this district." "She's not stealing," Marcus replied. "She's fixing what no one else could." The tall inspector walked past him and pointed at Vea. "You, what's your skill?" Vea stood slowly, wiping her hands on a cloth, her voice steady. "Mechanic, engineer's wife, trained by him." The tall one laughed. "And you think?" "That matters," Marcus snapped. "She made a dead loader come to life last week." "Can't prove it," the inspector said. Marcus picked up a small control pad and hit a button. The old loader in the corner of the shop roared to life. Its arms moved. Its screen lit up green. The inspector stared, surprised. Marcus crossed his arms. "Want her to fix something for you too?" The wide inspector hissed under his breath. "We'll be watching." Then they left. Vea sat down slowly. Her hands were shaking now. Marcus handed her water. "You did fine." "They'll come back," she said quietly. He nodded. "Let them." "But why fight for me?" she whispered. Marcus looked at her with calm eyes. "Because you're the best partner I've had in years, and because I don't like bullies." Vea smiled weakly. "You don't even know everything about me." "I don't need to," he said. "Your work tells the truth." Later that evening, after the door was locked and the children slept, Vea stayed by the workbench. She didn't sleep. She stared at her hands, hands that once held her husband's, hands that once braided her daughter's hair, hands that had begged in the dirt. Now they built again. She whispered to herself, "I thought I had lost everything. But maybe. My hands still remember who I am." The gravity stabilizer clicked into place, and in the shadows Marcus watched her, silent, steady, knowing he hadn't just saved a widow, he had uncovered a lost engineer. The choice of a human. Vea wiped her hands and stepped back. The gravity stabilizer was working now. Not just working, perfect. Lights blinked in steady rhythm, the hum low and clean. She smiled. This was her 4th full repair in a week. She glanced toward the side of the workshop. Sierra and Tico were painting shapes on scrap metal, laughing quietly. Their cheeks were full, their eyes brighter. They were safe. They were fed. They were home? Marcus stood at the front desk, scanning orders on a small data pad. He was quiet, focused the same way he always was, but something in his posture looked tense. She walked over. "Is something wrong?" He turned to her slowly. "There's a job offer." She tilted her head. "For me?" "No," he said. "For me. A big one." Vea waited. "They want me to work at the city's central engine yards. Full contract, high pay, big machines, powerful clients." "That's good," she said, though her chest tightened. "Marcus, Didn't smile. The offer came from a company run by Corin, he added. Vea's face fell. Corin, the alien who had insulted her. The one who had called her trash. They told me I can't bring you, Marcus continued. They said, you're bad for their image. Vea looked down. Her hands tightened into fists. I understand, she said quickly. Take the job. You've helped me enough already. You deserve it. Marcus didn't answer. She tried to smile. Really? Don't worry about us. We'll find another way. But Marcus only stared at her. Then he asked, do you want me to go? Her breath caught. No, she whispered, but I won't stop you. He nodded once, then placed the datapad face down on the table. I already told them no, he said. Vea's eyes widened. Why? Because I choose who I work with, he said. Not them. Tears stung her eyes. I'm not worth that, she said. You are to me, he replied. She didn't know what to say. She turned away quickly and walked to the back. Her chest ached, but in a different way, like a locked door inside her heart had just opened. That night they ate dinner together in the warm corner of the shop. The children laughed between bites. Marcus shared a story about when he once crashed a delivery drone and blamed a squirrel. Everyone laughed, even Vea. Later, after the kids slept, Vea stayed by the workbench fixing a power switch. Marcus leaned nearby, watching. I've never seen them laugh like that, she said quietly. It's been so long. You're doing a good job, he replied. I feel like I don't deserve this peace. Marcus shook his head. You rebuilt that stabilizer. You rebuilt my shop. You made it better. He paused, then added, and maybe you're rebuilding yourself too. Vea blinked. Her fingers paused on the wires. Outside, the workshop was quiet, but down the alley, in the dark, Corin stood with two others, watching, listening. You chose her over us? One of them muttered. She'll ruin his name, another said. Corin's eyes burned cold. Let's see how long his loyalty lasts, when we take everything else away. What she rebuilt with her tears. The next morning started quiet. Too quiet. Vea woke early, as always. She brewed a hot drink for Marcus, swept the floor and checked on the tools. Her hands moved without thought now, like they were born for this place. Marcus hadn't come out of his room yet. The children were still asleep, curled under thick blankets. She moved to the workbench where her latest repair sat unfinished. A cooling core for a broken loader, she smiled, picked up her tools, and leaned over to tighten a loose bolt. Then she heard it. A crack. A hiss. She turned. Smoke was rising from the back wall. Black. Thick. Fast. Her heart jumped. She dropped the tools and ran toward it. As she reached, the rear storage room heat burst from the door. Flames curled along the ceiling. Metal popped. Sparks jumped. Fire! Real fire! Marcus! She screamed. Fire! He came running, bare feet pounding the floor. One glance and he dashed for the extinguisher. Vea rushed to wake the children. Sierra coughed as smoke filled the room. Teco screamed in panic. Vea grabbed them both, wrapped them in a blanket, and led them outside. Outside, cold air hit her face. She looked back. Flames danced inside the shop. Marcus fought them, foam spraying, his face tight with fury. It took 20 minutes. Then the fire was out. But half the workshop was black. Destroyed. The back wall was melted. 2 machines were ruined. Tools were gone. The workbench she had repaired just yesterday was nothing but ashes. Vea stood frozen, her eyes wide, her hands shaking. Marcus leaned on the door frame, coughing. His shirt was burned, and his skin red, with heat. She walked to him. Are you okay? He nodded weakly. I'll live. Her lips trembled. This is my fault. Marcus looked at her sharply. No. Yes. she whispered. They hate me. They did this. She fell to her knees and covered her face. I brought this trouble to you. Marcus knelt beside her. No, they brought it. Not you. I should leave, she said, voice cracking. Before they burn down everything else. He grabbed her shoulder firmly. You're not going anywhere. She looked up at him through tears. Why? There's nothing left. I ruined your shop. Marcus stood looking over the blackened space. Then he said, calm but fierce, we'll rebuild. Her voice cracked. How? Same way you rebuilt that loader. One bolt at a time. She wiped her face and looked around. The tools were gone. The machines melted. Even if we try, she whispered, we've lost so much. Marcus turned to her and said, so have you, but you're still standing. That night they didn't sleep. They moved charred boards, cleaned melted wires, and saved whatever could be saved. Sierra and Teco helped sort scraps. No one cried. No one quit. By sunrise, the smoke was gone. Bea stood at the edge of the workbench and looked at her blackened hands. Her body ached. Her eyes stung. But her heart felt different. Not broken. Burned. But not destroyed. She walked to a small pile of parts and picked up a bent panel. With slow, careful hands, she started fixing it. One piece. One wire. 1 hour at a time. Marcus watched her from the corner. His arms crossed, his face unreadable. But inside him, something had shifted. This wasn't just a woman trying to survive. This was a fighter, a storm, an engineer with fire in her soul, and from the ashes she was building again, with nothing but her tears, her strength, and her hands. Hope signed in grease and fire. 3 weeks passed. The shop still smelled of smoke, but now it smelled of sweat, metal, and rebuilding too. The back wall was replaced with scraps. The furnace had been cleaned. 2 new machines sat near the front, donated, by clients Marcus had helped in the past. Everyone had seen the fire. Everyone had heard the whispers, but something strange happened after the flames. People returned. They came not to mock, but to watch. The human hadn't given up, and neither had the widow. Vea stood near the main bench, sleeves rolled up, face streaked with grease. Her hands moved like they were dancing, fitting a gear system back together. Sierra wiped metal panels. Teco carried bolts and counted aloud, proud of every number. Marcus stepped outside, blinking in the sunlight. The street outside the shop was quiet, until a long silver transport hovered near the doorway. The door opened, and an alien stepped out, tall, rich robes, long face. Behind him were 2 assistants and a floating crate of parts. Bea peeked out the door and frowned. Is that? Marcus nodded. That's the trade minister. The alien approached slowly. We heard you survived the fire, he said, and that the woman everyone rejected rebuilt your entire system. Marcus glanced at Vea and smiled. Yes, she did. The minister looked directly at Vea now. I have a contract. 5 repair jobs per month. Your choice of payment. But only if she signs it. Vea blinked. Me? The alien nodded. Your hands saved this place. We want them on our ships. Marcus placed the data pad on the table. Your call. Vea looked at her hands, still dirty, still scarred. She thought of the day she begged for work, the day she fainted in the street, the day Marcus offered her bread. Then she looked at her children smiling from behind the crates. Their faces were clean, their bellies full, their hearts warm. She picked up the pad and signed. The minister bowed lightly. Welcome to the guild, Engineer Vea. After they left, Vea just stood there stunned. I don't know how this happened, she whispered. Marcus chuckled. I do. She looked at him. You never gave up, he said. Even when the world told you to stop. You're more than a widow. More than someone to pity. You're hope. She looked down, tears filling her eyes. Why did you really help me? She asked again softly. That day. In the market? Marcus leaned against the table. Because I saw someone who reminded me of myself, he said. I was broken once too. Lost in war. Everyone passed me by. Until someone gave me a place to stand. Vea whispered. And now, you gave me that place. Marcus nodded. She reached out and took his hand, not out of need, but thanks. That night, the shop light stayed on late. The children danced in circles. Marcus and Vea worked side by side, smiling between sparks. The city didn't call her a beggar anymore. She was now Engineer Vea, the woman who rose from fire, held her children through hunger, and built something new from ashes and pain. A human had given her shelter, but she had given them both something far greater, a family.